Today we're going to be exploring tools and techniques for managing conflict. To start, we're going to clarify the concept of intention versus impact. This concept addresses the idea that what we intend to do or say may come across and be perceived very differently by the other person. And so intention is the purpose or motivation behind our actions or words, what we're thinking and feeling internally, versus the impact is how those actions or words are perceived by the other person. The issue that may arise here is that when we say something, the message sent is not message received. An example of this can be if one partner is tidying up in the living room, putting things away, not necessarily in the place they belong, but organizing the space so it looks and feels cleaner. Then their partner comes home and can't find any of their things and starts to get frustrated. So scenario one can go like this. I'm sorry, I just moved things around. Let me help you find them. I get why you would be frustrated. And then the couple works on moving the things around, fixing it, and no issue. Scenario number two can look like this. I was just trying to make it clean for you. Clearly you don't appreciate when I do things for you. Maybe if you put your stuff away on your own, this wouldn't be an issue. That is going to cause an argument. You hear the defensiveness, the blaming, and focusing solely on the person's intention of their behavior and not acknowledging at all how it impacted their partner. So this is going to be really important because this could save couples from a lot of arguments or from arguments escalating. Focus on the impact of your behavior first, right? We want to be able to let them know, like, I'm acknowledging that what I did impacted you poorly. I'm sorry. I just want to let you know that this is actually what I was trying to do. When we express it in that order or in that way, our partner is way more likely to, one, hear what we're saying, and two, be able to accept and understand that intention and probably forgive you a lot easier and faster. It almost becomes a non-issue. It takes away the need for it to escalate, for it to get defensive, for there to be blaming, and to dwell on the intention. A lot of people do this because when we hurt our partner, it immediately causes us discomfort and sometimes shame and guilt. And if we haven't grown up knowing how to handle or move through those emotions, especially while they're coming up, our defenses are going to go up and we're going to want to show our partner that I didn't do something wrong. This isn't on me, it's on you, to kind of push that feeling of discomfort away onto the other person. And it's actually a learned and modeled thing that we see growing up by our parents or family members, is not being able to accept the responsibility of what we did and how we hurt our partner. This also helps to build understanding and create an environment of patience and empathy and really working on our listening skills. Another important concept while managing conflict is understanding the difference between validating and invalidating somebody. Validation is being able to acknowledge and accept another person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences as valid and understandable, regardless if you agree or not with them. So this is really going to be important to think about. We can validate somebody and understand where they're coming from based on what we know about the person, the experiences they've had, and who they are and how they respond to things without agreeing with that as well. So an example of validating somebody would be, I understand why you would feel overwhelmed. This is a really high stress situation. You have a lot on your plate. I get why this is really tough for you. A way to invalidate somebody, which is something we don't want to do, especially if we want that other person to feel respected, is saying things like, this is not a big deal. Here you go making a big fuss out of this again. Are you really upset about this? This is stupid. You shouldn't be upset. Invalidating somebody, especially our partner, can really create this disconnect between the two of you where there's a loss of connection and trust, right? There can be judgment in the way you express that invalidation and really minimizing their experience. So if someone is invalidating their partner constantly, it's going to push the other person away. And it's going to make them feel like this is not a safe space emotionally for me to share how I feel with you because you're going to judge me, you're going to minimize it, and you're going to make it out to be like it's not a big deal. and that my feelings and experiences don't matter. So when we're in a romantic relationship, being able to validate somebody and make them feel seen and heard is essential for building that emotional trust and safety, especially if we want our partner to tell us things that might be uncomfortable or for them to feel vulnerable to open up about things. So please remember that if you want to build trust and intimacy and have a space for openness and honesty, validating your partner when they express how they feel or what they think about something, even if you don't agree with it, is going to be essential to building that trust. While we discuss managing conflict, I want to emphasize that having conflict within your relationship is completely normal and common and expected, and a lot of times can be healthy. So there are two researchers, the Gottmans. They're actually a married couple, and they've done a ton of research where they record couples having arguments and the way that they speak to each other, and they've been able to analyze this information. And what they found around couples and arguing is that 69% of arguments are perpetual, which means that you will have the same argument around the same type of thing over and over again, and it may not be resolvable. However, here's the important part, is that just because it's not necessarily resolvable does not mean that you can't work on the way that you talk to each other and the way you manage those conflicts. That's actually going to be a lot more important than resolving the conflict itself, because we'll go into this a little bit later, but it's the underlying feeling and the way that we speak to each other is going to be how we repair after fights and how we apologize and express our love to each other. So keep this in mind when you're having the same issue over and over again, that it's normal and it's okay. And remembering that fighting fairly and respectfully is more important sometimes than resolving the issue itself.